Hello, I'm Brandon Templar, and welcome back to Should You Get, the series where I talk about tanks in War Thunder and if they're worth getting. Just a quick side note, I do apologise for only doing Axis tanks thus far. I didn't mean for it to turn out this way, it just sort of has. But don't worry, after this one, I have one, maybe two Axis tanks planned after this. But after them, then I will definitely be deciding to do some British tanks, and after that I might start doing Russians or American or something, I don't know. So definitely stay tuned for them. But without further ado, let's get on to the Jagdpanzer 38T. This is a Tier 3 4.7 battle rating tank destroyer on the Axis tree. And definitely quite an interesting one that's quite a specialist tank. Either you're good with these things or you're not. But hopefully after this you will know all the little secrets about it and you'll be doing as good as you can be. Now, the Jagdpanzer 38 was better known as the Hetzer. This is translated into English as Chaser, as this is where it did its best. You see, due to its light characteristics of only 16 tons, it was capable of speeds of up to 26 miles an hour, despite the fact it only had a 158 horsepower Praga 6-cylinder engine. Designed in 1943, it saw service from 1944 to 1945. During this time period, 2,827 were actually made. This is because of its very simple design. You see, the main reason why the Hetzer even exists was because the Axis needed a tank that was not only light, but was also cheap and quick to make. Hence why so many were made over such a short amount of time. Now, believe it or not, but the Hetzer is actually the continuation on the Marder series of tanks. You see, the design of the Hetzer is essentially one similar to the Marders, except the turret was moved to one side due to lack of space inside the tiny compartment, and armour was placed on a more 360 degrees rather than just on the frontal plate. One of the strongest similarities between the Marder and Hetzer is actually its chassis. You see, both of them took the old 38T chassis, which was an old Czechoslovakian design that was very quickly outdated in the war. However, due to a large abundance of the 38T's chassis, it was actually decided that it would be used on the new Hetzer design. And in fact, due to them being able to use an old chassis rather than having to design a new one, allowed the Hetzer to be designed in only 4 months. Now it's time for the rundown on the Hetzer, and the first thing you'll notice is its frontal armour is, well, okay for its battle rating of 4.7. You notice it's 60mm, but it has a 60-degree slope on it. This offers up to around 125mm of effective thickness, which is quite decent for its battle rating. Not to mention, if anyone tries to fire an APCR shell or similar, then it will more often than not simply bounce off the front of this, and it does mean that this can stand quite a good chance if you're at range. Now, for the underneath of the hull, you'll notice that it's also 60mm, but with only a 40-degree angle. This means that if someone's trying to hit you, the best thing for them to do is to hit under here. And indeed, if you're trying to play as a Hetzer, always try to avoid it. Try finding a small ridge or something that you can just hide the bottom half of this under, because otherwise people will often aim for this, and they will destroy your tank by doing so. Now, going on to the cannon, you'll notice that it has this very bizarre and actually quite unique design. This kind of design is very sort of streamlined, And what it means is that any shell that hits this at the sides will more often than not simply just bounce off and do no damage. So make sure if you are trying to kill a Hetzer to always shoot for one of its more flatter sides, or ideally underneath. Never shoot for its turret or cannon, because it's very unlikely that a shell will go through all this. More often than not, they just fly away. Now, as for the rest of the tank, you'll probably quickly realise that they might as well not even exist. With 25mm of effective thickness on the sides and the back, nothing is going to be stopped by that. And indeed, aircraft with simple 50 caliber weapons I have had kill me, because if they shoot you from above, or from the sides or rear, they will penetrate you and they will just completely destroy your crew. This is the same with bombs, and even some of the more lighter bombs that people drop near you. Always try to face the bomb. If you don't, it will very quickly get through these 20 and 10mm armor, so always make sure that you face all danger front on with the Hetzer. Now, one of the many flaws of the Hetzer, and a very important thing you need to know, is the turret traverse. Now, you see, the problem with it is that, as you can see, due to this sort of design where it's very compact, because of this, as you can see on the inside perspective, on the X-ray, you can see that the turret cannot aim very far without hitting the sides of the tank, and because of this, the turret can only face 5 degrees to the left and around 11 degrees to the right. So basically, when you're driving the Hetzer, it is very important that you do not allow enemies to move too far. If you try to allow an enemy to get even slightly around here or here, then you can't shoot them. One of the biggest flaws with the Hetzer is that the turret just has almost no areas that it can't fire very far. It only has 15 degrees, give or take. And because of this, yeah, you just cannot allow anything to get to either side of your turret. You have to always keep them directly in front of you. Also, when driving the Hetzer, make sure that you use that 11 degrees to your advantage for one of two reasons. First of all, try to allow your enemies to fire onto this sloped angle here. This means that a lot of the shells will, as already stated, just deflect off. Also, it's important to keep at an angle which will increase your armor thickness further, and also keep them far away from your crew. There are 3 people lined in a little conga line here, and let me tell you, when I say that when someone shoots through this frontal bit of armor here, it will kill all 3 crew members, no problem. So always try to stay, at best, at around this angle here. This will give you your best chance of survival, and although it might not guarantee that you'll survive, you'll do a lot better if you try to stay at this kind of angle. Now, lastly, we go and look at the X-ray. As you can see, as I've already stated, 3 people in a line. If anyone shoots right frontal plate, well, they're dead, basically. And let's face it, when you're driving a tank that does not have a 360-degree moving turret, having only 1 crew is completely useless. You might as well just kill yourself, to be honest with you. Now, the ammo is decent, looking at around 41 shells. Not bad, but you don't really want more than that anyway. Don't worry too much about ammo racking. This may sound as a bit of a shock, but honestly, if someone's capable of getting in this tank with any shell, you're probably dead anyway, so there's really no need. And with this tank, it's ideal to stay at range, so you might want to take more shells because it's just going to be harder to hit targets. Now, onto the modifications, you're looking at a tank which has around 136 at best millimeters of penetration, which is alright for 4.7. You can also use hull charges if you're completely insane, and the APCR, because you will need APCR. Trust me, there are a lot of tanks that will just tank 135mm, especially at range. So definitely get the APCR, and yeah, high explosive is crap as always. My apologies for that particularly long rundown there. I didn't expect for it to go that long, but I did have a lot to say. Anyway, so at its current battle rating of 4.7, I think that's pretty fair to say that it's alright. Do not overestimate its armor. Most tanks of this tier, even with your around 125 equivalent armor, can still penetrate you with a lot of ease. So once again, don't do what I do in any of these videos and rush your enemies, because 9 times out of 10, this tank just isn't made for it. It's made for long range encounters. And so we get on to the final question of the night, which is, should you get the Hetzer? And well, this one's kind of up to you. It's not the best tank in the world. It's even at its best armor, still a lot of things can penetrate it, and with a cannon of only around 130mm of penetration with a standard round and 170 with APCR, it's not the worst, but you can definitely get better, especially at this battle rating. So yeah, this one's very much up to you. If you like long-range sniping, then this is definitely the one for you. If you like close-range fast encounters, you can sometimes use this speed to its advantage, but be very careful with the turret. Like what I've already said, 5 degrees to the left, 11 degrees to the right. It's not much. All it takes is one person to take out 1 or 2 of your tracks, and you pretty much can't play anymore, because the turret just cannot turn far enough. So, if you did like this video, then make sure to like, comment and subscribe. As I've already said, another one will be coming fairly shortly, and until next time I say thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.